The Prince and the Pauper. Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom, there lived Prince Edward and a poor boy named Tom. The two boys looked very similar, but their lives were completely different. The prince wore shiny golden clothes and ate delicious food in the palace, while Tom wore old, tattered clothes and struggled to survive in the marketplace. A chance meeting and switching clothes. One day, as Tom was passing near the palace, he saw the prince in his fine clothes. The prince must be so happy. I wish I could be a prince for just one day. Hearing Tom's words, the prince was surprised. Oh, you and I look exactly the same. I'll grant your wish. Let's switch clothes and see what it's like. Thinking it would be fun, the two boys exchanged clothes. But at that moment, the palace guards mistook the prince for a real pauper because of his ragged clothes, and threw him out of the palace. Meanwhile, Tom, now dressed as the prince, was left inside. The prince in the marketplace. Prince Edward was forced out into the marketplace. He was hungry, and people looked at him strangely. I am the prince. Please believe me. He pleaded, but no one believed him. For the first time in his life, he saw the true face of the world, the kind old woman who shared her bread. The prince stood in front of a bakery, his stomach growling as he smelled the fresh bread. Just then, a poor old woman saw him and gave him a piece of her own bread. "Grandmother, you don't have much yourself. Why are you giving me your food?" Edward asked. The old woman smiled warmly and replied, "I don't have much, but if we don't help each other, no one can be truly happy." Hearing her words, the prince felt his heart ache. In the palace, food was often wasted, but in the marketplace, people shared what little they had. The kind blacksmith. That evening, the prince had nowhere to sleep and was shivering in the cold. A kind blacksmith noticed him. "Hey, boy, where are you going? You'll freeze on a night like this." The prince was touched and asked, "Why are you helping me? What do you gain from this?" The blacksmith laughed heartily and said, "A true good person doesn't help others for personal gain." Hearing this, the prince realized that the ministers in the palace always talked about doing only things that benefited them. But outside, there were people who helped others simply out of kindness. The brave girl who spoke the truth. The next day, the prince saw a merchant being falsely accused of stealing. The merchant cried, insisting he was innocent, but no one believed him. Just then, a young girl stepped forward bravely and said, "I saw everything. This man is not a thief." The girl risked getting in trouble herself to tell the truth. The prince thought to himself, "In the palace, people lie and flatter me all the time, but this girl is truly courageous." Thanks to the girl, the merchant was cleared of his false charges, and the prince realized how important it was to speak the truth. Tom in the palace. At first, Tom was thrilled to be a prince. Soft beds, delicious food, and fancy clothes. From now on, I can live comfortably. But soon, Tom realized that being a prince was not easy at all. Even eating wasn't easy. Tom was excited to eat the delicious food in front of him, but just as he was about to take a bite, a servant stopped him. "Your Highness, the food must be tasted first for poison." Only then did Tom realize that the prince couldn't even eat freely. "I thought a prince could eat anything he wanted, but that's not true at all. Difficult laws and responsibilities." Tom sat in the prince's seat, when a long line of ministers approached him with questions about laws and politics. "Your Highness, should we increase taxes in this village? How should we resolve this issue?" Tom was overwhelmed. "I thought being a prince meant I could do whatever I wanted, but this is so difficult." He had wished to be a prince, but the responsibilities were far greater than he imagined. A prince is always watched. Tom wanted to take a peaceful walk in the royal garden, but wherever he went, servants and guards followed closely behind him. "Your Highness, you cannot go there. Your Highness, you must be careful with your actions." Even when changing clothes, servants rushed to assist him. I can't even dress myself. Tom started feeling trapped. He realized a prince was never truly free. A single word from the prince decides a life. One day, a minister came to Tom. "Your Highness, what should we do with this criminal?" A man kneeled before him, begging for mercy. But Tom had no idea what this man had done. What should I do? He suddenly realized that one wrong decision from the prince could change a person's entire life. Being a prince isn't always happy after all. The boys returned to their places. Meanwhile, Prince Edward had learned many lessons from the kind grandmother, the selfless blacksmith, and the brave girl who spoke the truth. He vowed to become a better, wiser king. One day, a great event was held at the palace. Dressed in rags, Edward boldly stepped forward and declared, "I am the real prince." No one believed him except for Tom. Tom took a deep breath and spoke honestly, "This man is the true prince. I am not the real one." The prince smiled and said, "Tom, because of you, I learned what life is really like for my people. From now on, I will be a king who helps those in need." So the two boys returned to their rightful places. Prince Edward became a wise and kind king, and Tom remained in the palace, helping the prince serve the people. And from that day forward, they both lived happily ever after. The end.